today. It was a great time. And so today we're going to play a little game to sharpen our saw, right? We're going to increase our skill set a little bit. And we are going to, we're going to talk to Patrick and Donna, and get some updates on the real estate industry. And we are going to explore pricing strategies. We're going to look at different ways to view pricing of properties. We've got a subject that we're going to be exploring today, which is really fun, which is really and I have a worksheet. Thanks to you guys. So we're going to do all of those things. We have a slide deck that's going to support us at some point, but we don't need it right now. We're going to start off with a game. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So everybody who's at a table is going to be playing, which is really fun. So you're going to partner up. You'll be in teams of 2 for this. So it doesn't matter how you partner up. But
I'll be a
partner up.
satellites. I know what she's gonna do.
And then, oh, but you count, Donna. You don't.
Well, we only have 3, so I'm gonna let them do it and I'll be helping.
Nobody knows the answer. I'm the only one who can't play.
Oh, all right. Gwen, you can turn around and come over here.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. Okay, so tell me, who are my teams?
Okay, we'll be a team.
Okay, team. Awesome.
All
All right.
Yeah.
So everybody gets a subject envelope.
We open it?
Yeah, you guys can open this. Everybody gets a subject envelope, so you can open that. Everybody's subject is the same. So here's what you guys are going to be doing today. You are going to be randomly chosen to be either the representative of the buyer or the seller, and you're going to be negotiating an offer on this subject property. You're going to have 5 minutes to get to your final terms. There's a cheat sheet so you can record your final terms. Okay. And the buyers and sellers are all random. You don't know until you open your envelope if you're a buyer or a seller. And they are all different scenarios. So your envelope will tell you a little bit about your buyer or seller and might tell you a little bit about the negotiating guidelines. Like I can go up to this number or I can go down to this. And so it's your objective to negotiate the best deal you can for the client you're representing. What do you think? Sound fun? Sound horrible. Okay, so that's for you guys. Yeah, one of these envelopes is a buyer, one is a seller. So one of you will be the buyer, one of you will be the seller. And it will tell you inside which one you are. Okay, so let's do this. Let's give you a minute to determine if you're the buyer or the seller and to start determining your strategy, and then you're gonna have 5 minutes to negotiate. Okay, so your 1 minute starts now to representing.
You didn't do the one I got you?
Oh, no, that we're doing the pricing on the other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is an actual property that's actually been on the market for as long as it says here, and this is the actual property you're negotiating.
Wow, almost a month for this one at $650.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's worse than the price one we're gonna do.
All right, just for the record, I looked at the pictures and there wasn't any glaringly obvious reasons why this property is still on the market, right? It doesn't have any noticeable defects. It's not like, you know, it was fine. It was a normal comparable property marketed appropriately. This is just representative of the market right now. So you'll have 5 minutes starting now to negotiate your terms. If you want to, you know, if you need to spread out or something like that, go for it. Obviously the conversation starts with the buyer presenting an offer. So that's how I would start the negotiations. Buyer, bring your offer.
Right.
You ready? Hey Jimmy, it's Michael with Distinct Food Color Lane. How are you?
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like,
I
don't
know.
know.
Hey, I got it for you listing on
So,
Sunday.
Okay.
You got anything on the table?
Sellers.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had a few agents
So
call
I would.
with a couple meetings, but nothing new.
Yeah, and then once you get to agreement, you can jot it on there.
Okay.
So they
I
have a
would
new
say-
bill, and
I'm going to
the
start.
new bill's gonna be ready in about 45 days, so.
Read that to
we
me.
want it to
So
be
it's been on the
sold
market for 18
closed by
days.
then. So
Okay.
we are asking for a few days of
So-
PC. Depending on how fast your buyers can close.
I gotcha.
So come in with your.
Well, here's what
eyes
my
open.
buyers are
I don't know,
thinking,
okay,
you
so
know,
when it's-
housing market's changing, rates are up, you guys have been on the market about a month. You know, they're gonna come in at 6 and a quarter. They do have a home that they need to sell, but, you know, they've got plenty of equity in that home, so we're talking 20% plus down.
Okay.
And, you know, I think we can make that 45, 60-day timeline. That you're looking at.
All right. Do they care about the rest? Are they looking at anything else, like, what are you looking at? Inspections, stuff like that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, my folks are reasonable. I mean, we'll probably just keep it to
So-
the major items. You know, we won't nitpick you to death.
Okay.
I did, run into this issue.
Okay, got it. These ones, they're these up
I
in
had a
thirty
conversation
days.
offered.
So, and yours, you said.
Concession
Well,
really
they got
they
too
asked
much,
for any
yeah.
Okay.
concession,
So
what do you
maybe
think
they
on
can
that?
No, I mean, they, you know, once we get their home sold. they're gonna come back
maybe
with something on it.
Okay, that sounds good. So we're talking 625 straight up. All right,
You didn't catch
let me
me.
talk to my sellers and see what they come up with, and I will call you back.
Good.
All right.
So I say.
50 days.
That we're looking at living there.
Yes, they did have loans.
So they had appraisals.
Yes.
You guys want 650? Do you
50
want
days, 30 day
My buyers want to come in at 640.
Understand that your seller wants the best price that they can get.
Right.
Okay,
do you think-
like, I don't know.
Yeah.
there's a way a lot
Do you
of-
think
So,
it's a nice
yeah,
little agreement?
I think it's pretty good, saying that they don't wanna net below
If we do the
95%.
30.
Well, Michael,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
So I
Alright.
talked to my sellers, and,
So I think that would be good, but I
rather
mean,
than just putting an offer in and then us countering and
Yeah,
then
she
you
said she just
countering and
wants to
paperwork and
sell
all
it
that kind of
as
stuff, I like
Okay,
to see
so
if there's
so
talk
like
about
it
this.
was so hot.
Maybe get that first offer,
in it
just
for 2 months.
something that's set in stone.
So.
2 minutes.
I did talk to my
They need to
sellers
in-house
and
insurance.
they
Maybe
are
we go
willing
with the
to come
lower
down on the price a
and
little
make
bit.
it fair for your
Cool.
buyers. Maybe they just go with your
Since it's been
mom.
on the market for a little.
You know what
Oh,
I mean?
it's,
2 weeks.
I did tell you.
And,
Oh, okay.
we'd like to split that in half.
Around then.
We're
very easy to
Fire.
We're not real.
So I think if you guys come in at 6:30,
I don't know.
6:32, that
So
would
she's
probably
not
work
sure
for
how
them,
they
we would be willing to take that off.
Everyone I've ever had is always.
so it took me. a few
All right, so let me talk to my guys. and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hey Jimmy, I talked to my guys, we'll do 6:30.
Okay.
And it's only 10,000
Sounds good.
less, so.
Because they.
And we're still good on,
Oh, yeah.
the,
Seller concession on 640.
how fast can you do it?
Well, normally.
You said you could work with us, so would you do like a,
Negotiations.
like a 35-day close or a 30-day close?
No, like I said, you know, we've got to sell our current home, so I think
Okay.
45 works.
Okay. That sounds good, as long as we can close in 45 days, I think we'll be good. If you send that off for a bit, I believe
If
we
the
can
price
get it
is
done.
higher, so.
Negotiation going on.
Let's say it's 650 and you offer
Let's sell this out.
658.
If you guys come to agreement.
Then,
well,
then you
Wonderful.
say.
A pack of zoning
uh,
deal
we
makers over here.
Congratulations,
But
may
the
I see
bottom
who
line
your
is the seller's
buyers
gonna
are?
be saying.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Oh my goodness, now.
Sorry, I'm not any help, I'm like.
No, you're fine, because they still have that extra $7,000 to play with. So.
How are you guys
there's
doing?
gonna-
Ah,
Really?
great.
Oh, good, it's like.
Yeah.
closing costs, so.
It's not a contract unless it's in writing.
That's right. Well, how do you think I got the last 2 done that I did?
Absolutely. And then. other
And
ones-
one of them, well, and Lisa says, well, we should give them an escalation clause. essentially saying you're not competing against
I know.
anybody. Why are we doing that?
All right, guys, get your final agreements in writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that.
And Bonnie and Patrick, you guys were the first ones, I think, to reach agreement. So share with me, what'd you sell the house for?
6:30.
6:30, all right. So Bonnie and Patrick, 6:30, any concessions on there, any seller concessions?
Nope.
Seller gets her rent back.
For free,
For 30 days.
and a 30-day rent
So you
back.
have to decide what price you might come in for your buyers.
For the 30-day close,
Oh, 6:17.
Okay,
and they will cover the appraisal gap. If there is. Which we feel there will not.
Sellers are gonna be happy.
awesome. Tell me a little bit about, Patrick, what did you end up knowing about Bonnie's, Bonnie, did you have the buyer or the seller?
I just saw it.
You had the seller. Patrick, what did you know about the seller situation?
The only thing I picked up on was that a rent back was very important.
A rent back was important to the seller, so as a buyer, you said, okay, we'll come in with a rent back.
They offered that information to me,
Okay,
so,
I think it's in the thing. Is it in here?
well, I don't know how to read those, so.
I don't know if it's in here, but it's on my sheet, so
I think-
she needs it.
yeah,
So I was like, I don't know. So he came in under, and I asked if they could do a free rent back, if they were to let him cover appraisal gap.
okay,
I also asked if there was any activity and she didn't sound very confident.
okay, okay, so maybe not a lot of activity, so you were able to go in a little bit lower and came out at 6:30. I love it. You guys, I think, we're our next set of buyers and sellers. All right, so Jimmy and Michael, where did you sell the house at?
6:30.
6:30 also. Interesting.
What is it? Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
45-day close.
Okay.
That's it.
Post closing occupancy agreement at all, seller concessions at all?
No.
Okay. So, and a 45-day close, okay, pretty straightforward. All right, let's go to Donna and Gwen. Where'd you sell?
What was the question?
Where did you sell?
We didn't. My guys are cash and they don't care about this house. They're just looking for another one. So looking for a smoking deal. She's not willing to sell a smoking deal, so.
Ah, so we did not get
We
agreement.
did not
get an
negotiate it.
agreement.
But cash is king to a point. And if it isn't a number that the seller wants, they're not gonna do it. And she agreed to the contingency, the post-closing occupancy, everything. But it's the number that's important to the seller. So there you go.
Okay, and you couldn't hit a number that worked for you? that
Probably
seller
not
did,
at the
I
starting
guess.
number she
Right.
gave.
Okay.
My guys stuck at
However-
the 95%.
Yeah. However,
on the house
having
that's sitting.
said that, I'm pretty sure she'll be close to that number, which was 617 and change, okay? I think by the time this really sells, I think the 617, 620, 622-ish mark is probably where this is gonna end up.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. All right.
I did a terrible negotiation.
Yeah.
All right, so 640 and then 4,000 in concessions. And they were just gonna let the tenant finish out the lease. They were gonna go live with the mother-in-law for a month. Save a little extra money.
Okay, so your tenants had a lease
30 days.
30 days, and so they needed to close.
Yeah.
Within that 30 days, were you able to get a quick close?
Yes.
You were able to get a
Yes.
quick close, okay, and a quick close.
She's a good lender, huh?
Yeah.
So you were able to get in with a quick close at 636 net because you had $4,000 in.
I did get the washer and dryer too.
Okay. I didn't actually look to see if it was included.
It said it was negotiable, so
Oh,
I threw it in.
So you got the washer and dryer. This was really fun. Did you guys like your buyers and sellers?
Yeah.
I think mine is, honestly, the seller is very unrealistic, and that's gonna be a painful experience for me.
Who
My
got the
people are just gonna
investors?
move- I did.
You
Well,
got one and you got one.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, Igor.
As a
and-
seller,
yeah, I got
Yeah.
Igor.
she did, our team, she got that.
Okay, oh, you had the other investor.
Yeah, there's not a lot of emotion on an investor, it's a numbers game with them.
Right, right, couldn't come to an agreement. Who was your client?
I got the seller.
You got the seller,
They were
what,
stuck at 650.
They were stuck on 650.
Oh,
They needed
okay.
to get a
They had a
replacement home.
contingency, and even if I explain to them, which
Mhm.
they may or may not listen, is that if they waive the, and they can do their inspection, but if they don't have an appraisal and it's cash, it's worth the discounted price. But they were hung up on their price, so.
Yeah.
And I think that in the shift in the market, our job is to educate the seller on it's not the number, it's the bottom line. It isn't the number that it actually says here. It's what are you gonna net at the end of a period of time? And that's something that we have to educate everybody on.
yeah. What about your buyers and sellers?
I was a seller
You're the seller.
and basically they just had a new build that was closing about 45 days and they didn't want to make 2 moves, so the closest that they could get to 45 days was the
Yeah.
best for them, so.
Yeah, I love that you still got 630 in that because you had highly motivated sellers, right? They had to sell.
Well, he came in at 625,
All right.
so I came back and said, I'll split it with you. And he came back and said,
great.
yeah.
And then we'll split it
Yeah.
again and you ended up at
Right.
I'm always
630.
down for
Yeah.
the split. I'm
Yeah.
always down.
Always,
Okay.
always. It's a
Okay.
win-win for
I
everybody.
agree.
Chris Boston.
Some people are so
Never
against it, they
split
have
the
to come out
difference. Never split the difference.
How long has it been since he sold?
He was a hostage negotiator,
Yeah,
so you don't get a half.
Yeah.
You don't get half a person.
Give me a
on
half
selling,
of
so
them. But
that's
it's definitely
it's a
a good
different
read
situation.
before you go buy your next car. If you haven't yet, go hardcore negotiating at the car lot and see what happens. Like that's, yeah.
Or just call up your
Yeah.
friendly guy and say, here's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna pay, where's the car?
Uh-huh. Well, so let's see, I think we got the best net for our seller. Probably right here with the free rent back. Well, and then we have the 636 with the washer and dryer and the quick close, that's pretty good too.
She gave 4,000 in concessions, so it's really not net.
Well, the net
No,
is
it is not.
636, because it was 640.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
With 4,000 and the washer and
Right.
dryer, so even if that's really a nice set, right, that's, 1,500, a couple of $1,000, right? So they're probably net 634, so I think the seller probably won here, and the buyer probably won here. Don't you think?
Yeah.
With the 630 and the 45-day close, and they don't
Yeah.
have to get the free rent back.
Yeah.
And the buyer probably won it, but it was really close. It was really close. So what are we doing? Are we gonna do some tickets for these guys, or are we gonna do some swag for our winning buyer and seller?
That's up to you. I did bring the tickets, but there's not as many people, so we could give out lots of tickets.
I like swag. You can pick from my swag bag that I'll grab, or anything from the coloring library. For we had the buyer here. Who had the buyer? Michael?
Mhm.
Michael, you get to pick here. And who had the seller? Here, Kelly?
Oh, I did.
Kelly, all right. Woohoo! Congratulations, guys. That was so much fun. Next time, we're gonna have real life buyers and sellers. Oh,
That was like a little
well,
exercise,
Yeah,
that really
and
was.
wait till you get to the next one, it's
Or
literally
wait,
gonna be
It's
good.
nice to see how kind of the OGs do it. It's good to see,
mhm,
you know?
yeah.
How we do it.
Well, and the
Yeah,
thing
right.
about it is you have to understand, we all have, well, Michael and I, and Annie even too, I've been through probably 4 or 5 of these, up and down, up and down, up and down. And what you have to learn is your strategy to talk to a buyer and or a seller. And if we don't educate them, who's gonna educate them? That would be the news media, which is,
Uh-huh.
really crappy. So
Yeah.
here we go.
Agreed.
Okay, do you want me
Yeah,
up there with the people?
Yeah, come on up. I love also that our most tenured agent and our absolute newest agent.
Yes,
both
Raven,
won
go,
this.
Ellen.
Great job, guys.
Okay. I got a few things to talk about. One is I want to call your attention to paragraph 12.3 in the contract. And that is where you give a buyer a key at closing, which is totally different than it was last year. A buyer always gets a key at closing. And then you negotiate on the POC, on the post-closing occupancy of possession, okay? But I get pushback on some people who say, I don't have to give them a key. Yes, you do, according to contract, you do, it's 12.3. The next thing is, there have been changes in the commission position statements. We went from 46 to 29. I'm gonna give you, every time we have a meeting of in-person, I'm gonna give you a different one. The first one I'm gonna start out with is CP 19, closing instructions. When you go to closing and they shove the title company closing instructions in front of your buyer, new bills are a little bit different, guys. But you don't have, please don't have the buyer sign those. 2 days before closing, make sure your fully executed closing instructions that your buyers have signed ahead of time have been resent to the title company, and do not sign the title company's closing instructions. The reason being, they are not the same as the title, as Dora's document. It so states. Title companies as closing company may provide their own closing instructions for the transaction. Title companies' draft closing instructions may include indemnification and other legal clauses that could cause harm to the broker client, which is the buyer. Brokers are strongly encouraged to complete the commission-approved closing instructions, delivering the closing instructions to the title company with earnest money, have them sign them, signed by all parties, including the title company. So if you deliver your earnest money, you can do it then, or you can have your TC sent ahead of time. And then 2 days prior to closing, make sure that they have another copy because they conveniently forget they have it.
Yes, I've
Okay.
seen that in one of Ryan's closings before. It's
Correct.
crazy to me that Title and Dora don't work more together.
Listen, we got this far. Let's
Yeah,
just be happy with what we
The
got.
title company closing instructions look a lot like the
But
ones that
they're
were already
not.
signed. And so how would you have that conversation? If I'm sitting there at closing and my buyer's about to sign this, how do I jump in and say, not that one?
I just had it.
Ryan literally said you can't make them sign
That's
that.
correct.
I've already executed those.
First of all, you already have title company, a fully executed closing instructions that are from Dora. You got them 2 days ago. We reconfirmed that they were sent 2 days ago, and they're not signing yours. And if you get pushback, say, get the title company's attorney on the phone and go to see commission position statement 19. And you will not have any trouble.
Got it.
You will get flack, but you will not have your buyer sign that, okay? It is recommended that this is what we do. Dora says if we have a document, we have to use it. And closing instructions are one of those documents, okay? So let's see, the last thing. On August 4th, from 1 to 4 at Smedra, I'll be teaching a contracts class for 3 hours CE credit. And if you belong to Smedra, that class is free. All you have to do is go on Smedra and look up for my class August 4th. And I will be there teaching. So if anybody has any questions about the position statement 19, let me know and I'll forward you a copy of it. Any questions, forward to me. Any questions in here? Okay, we're done.
Easy peasy. For once, we aren't the ones getting in trouble.
Right.
That's nice. That's a
You
nice
guys
change.
are
of
hardly
pace.
ever in trouble.
I know, we have a really, really good group of
We
agents.
do.
Right, Patrick. Yeah, what's going on in the world, sir?
Other than he's trying to stay out of the line of fire.
All right, inflation, 41-year high, 9.1%. What's the biggest impact on rates?
Goes-
Inflation. So.
Is it-
We're-
Yeah,
We're
it's-
expecting that to continue for the next 3 months, so we're expecting rates to go up. Probably one of the biggest questions you get is it a good time to buy? Should I wait for rates to come down? So I prepared a cost of waiting analysis for you. Based it on a $700,000 home in Douglas County. If you wait 6 months, I think rates will peak at the end of the year. Okay, so if you wait 6 months, you'll probably have the highest rate, 7.25%. So you're paying more if you wait 6 months because your monthly payment goes up. We're also expecting home values to continue to increase at 4 to 5%. Okay. Did you know last month active listings in June was the same as active listings the year prior? Do you know that? Doesn't feel that way though, right? Okay. So there's just so much hype because we went from 15-16% appreciation to now we're gonna be at 4 or 5% appreciation. So this exercise this morning, we're gonna have to be realtors again and price homes appropriately, negotiate, market, that kind of stuff. If you do all that, we're expecting 4 to 5% appreciation. So if you wait, you're missing out on the best thing about owning a home, and that's building wealth through appreciation. So if you wait 1 year on a $700,000 home, your rate's higher, and now you've missed out on your total cost with the higher rate and appreciation is 47 grand. Okay, that's 1 year. 2 years, let's say rates, I ran it at 5%. Let's say rates come down. They will start trickling down at the end of the year. I don't know how quick. And I don't know when they'll get to 5% again, but let's just say it's in 2 years. If you wait that long, you've already missed out on $81,000. Okay. And then if you wait 3 years to when rates are back to 4.5%, you missed out on $119,000 in wealth from home values going up, et cetera. Okay. So this is a great, I think right now it's more important than ever to educate our clients so we can eliminate fear. Okay. And so we'll help you with that. We can customize this for a certain price point, all that kind of stuff. I also have a buy versus rent. Okay. We all need housing, right? So what are your options? You can buy, you can rent, or you can live with mom and dad. Okay, those are your options.
We're sisters.
Oh, God.
Or family, or you can get like
Made the
6
biggest
people in one
mistake
house.
ever. It's a
And
lesson.
so for me, I don't want to move back in with my parents and I don't want to rent, so I'm gonna buy. But let's look at a comparison. So this is for Douglas County. What you'll notice is you are going to pay more. Your cash flow difference over the first 5 years, you're actually gonna spend $83,000 more on your monthly payment over the first 5 years. However, some of that payment's paying down the loan. Some of that payment is interest, which you get a write-off on your taxes. And you're building equity. So when you consider everything, including a 6% commission, if you were to sell in 5 years, you gain 68 grand in wealth. Okay? This is all based on a 5% down payment. So 700,000, I put 5% down, that's 35 grand, that's my investment. I made 70. I doubled my money. Okay? So that's 100% return on investment in 5 years. So that's 20% per year. Anyone know any great 20% return on investments right now that I can invest in? other
Yeah,
than
me
real
too.
estate?
Could I have that investment?
Yeah, my stock market is hurting,
Yes, it is.
right? So the great thing about real estate, when you own it, if I put 35 grand in the investment, am I earning interest on 35 grand? No.
No.
What am I earning interest on? $700,000. Yeah, so this is a great rent versus own. Now you can see if they sold it in the first 2 years, you didn't make money, you lost a little. But once you hit that 3-year mark, 15 grand. So a combination of these two is a good thing to present. For $20 a year, you can do these yourself and we can co-brand them. Just email me if you're interested. It's like $20 just so we can be RESPA compliant. You don't pay me, you pay the company, okay? So educate to eliminate fear. I'll also do a Facebook video on this today and post it, so if you want to share, go for it. Cool.
Cool.
Questions?
Sign me up.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like that. So Amy, I just shared the worksheet with you. So that we can do things with it if this all works out. You guys, they gave me an hour to put together a worksheet, so we'll see if it really captures what we're gonna do today. But how about we look at some different ways to explore pricing on a property, right? We get into the business, we're doing CMAs, we're finding comps, we're putting them into our CMA tool, we're getting these estimates of value, but then we go to represent a buyer. How do we identify that home we wanna offer on in today's market looks right, right? How are we making sure that we're using the most accurate, most timely data for our sellers when we're getting on the market? Are we reviewing that on a regular basis? So, you know, I wish there was a really good, easy button for this. Like, oh, you just look at like this one number, it's gonna tell you all of the stories. What I've found over the years is that it's a combination of data that you're looking at to find this information, right? You're gonna look at actives, you're gonna look at pendings, you're gonna look at solds and recently solds, and you're gonna pull some data and you're gonna start to compile that data together and determine kind of a better pricing point for that. So we're gonna have some fun. Oh, these are all of the buyers and sellers from today. This is fun. These folks don't really know what their max is, but they don't want to pay more than $650 and they're gonna put 20% down. They need to have 45 to 60 days before they can close. That was fun. Who had the Barnes family?
I did.
Yeah, yeah. They're in a great spot and they won. They didn't even need a deal and you got them a deal. Good job.
That's what he does.
Good job. Very awesome. But so I took kind of all of the strategies that I would use and tried to compile them on a worksheet so that it kind of creates a format that you can start looking at these on. This is more, I would say, of like a combination art and science than it is an actual thing. It's not like step 1 is always this, step 2 is always this, step 3 is always this. You're going to develop a knack for this. I would highly recommend that you do some pricing on a few properties on your own so that you get really comfortable looking at all of the different data. Okay, but so you can take this, use something of your own if you want to,
What's the best sample?
or you can use this type of worksheet.
You could use RPR, because you have a near fabric.
Okay.
Association.
So,
That is really.
Michael, I love that you're here because you've been through a couple of different markets as well, right? And you probably have some tried and true strategies for establishing
Let's take your
pricing in shifting markets.
4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, maybe a couple of things that you did into in your toolbox. What are some things that you go to regularly? What are some strategies that you use to determine value in the market?
Oh,
You know, I think I look at not only what comps are in the current neighborhood, or what are comps, you know, in the surrounding area. Because I think, you know.
I don't know why I printed on
When a buyer
tabloid size
goes
paper,
and-
but
Oh, I already had them printed. Oh,
you
did?
There
Printed?
you go.
Sorry, I was just giving it to you so you had it for the file or for whatever you need, so that we can save it in resources. It's beautiful on tablet though, and I like tablet because it gives you lots of room for like scratch notes, which is good. Okay.
I didn't know
But-
you already had
So
it.
you're looking at just outside of that area, what other neighborhoods are doing? What else are you looking at?
Days on market,
Mhm.
Yeah,
looking at how fast seller needs to sell. Do they have a bunch of time or do they need to sell quickly? Yeah, you gotta look at condition now. I mean, before it's like, it doesn't matter what kind of condition it's in, they'll buy it as is, right?
mm-hmm.
So now it's like, hey, you know, let's fix this, or, you know, if you're not gonna fix this, then we gotta adjust for the price.
Some of the things that I like to look at is I like to have an idea of what's actually happening, like the movement of the market, right? And I find that you can see that a couple of different ways. You can see how the market's moving as a whole, and then in that little area, right? You can see how the market's moving, but you might also see how the market's moving in that price band of that area, right? Like a $500,000 house is going to have a very different data set than a $900,000 house, right? And so I want to look at those pieces, and so that's what this worksheet allows me to do. And so I'm going to walk you through kind of my thought process around this and how you can use this to pull some data. Maybe, you know what, maybe everybody gets a copy of that. Okay, let's do that so that you can see my notes on one that's almost completed. So you have a comparison as we walk through this together, because it doesn't, we don't have an Elmo. Once upon a time, we used to have like an ancient overhead projector, like the one from elementary school, right? And I love that right now. That would be so awesome. I would spend all of my time there on the overhead projector. But so you guys will get kind of a copy of my notes, but here's what I start with. I look at absorption rate. Okay, and the formula is on here for absorption rate, and I look at days on market and list versus sold price, right? In an area. I go big and then I go small and then I look at price band. And I might look at, you know, at this just in one or two ways so that I have an idea of how the market's moving. Or I might look at it 3 or 4 different ways, right? For instance, I'm gonna pull up our subject property today, so that you can see our subject property. Let me log in and hopefully I got all of my search stuff should still be saved.
And I will tell you the same, what she's doing now, you do that when you're gonna list, but you also do that for a buyer.
Yes,
And that's super important to know.
in fact, this area, this little square, my absorption rate square came out of my buyer presentation. I have this in my buyer presentation because I'll do these numbers with my buyers so they know what the market is. And I have a whole page that explains these different numbers, and like if they're lower, here's a strategy. If they're higher, here's a strategy. And I circle where we're at so they can see what the strategy is that we're gonna be working with. Cool, thank you. So I'm looking at absorption rate, days on market, sale versus list price. I'm looking at these things in the different bands. And then I go through and I'm gonna find comparable properties or competitive properties to this one, to whatever my subject is. And I'm gonna look at all of the different numbers specifically for those properties. How long have they been on market? What's their, you know, original versus current list price? What's their list versus sold price? And then I want to look at their condition. And I base their condition, I rank it off of how it compares to my subject property. Is it better, worse, a lot better? Is it, you know, similar? What does that look like? I'm gonna look at price per square footage. And then timeframes. I look at different timeframes too, especially in a moving market. I want to look at big picture, what's happened in the last 6 months, but then I want to go to the last 30 days when I'm looking at solds, because that tells me the direction we're moving. If over the course of 6 months, I'm 105% list versus sold price, but in the last 30 days, I'm 101%. I know which way the market's moving, right? If over 6 months, I'm at 7 days on market, but in the last 30 days, I'm 22. I know which way the market's moving, and it helps me put all of that together when I'm having that conversation with the buyer or the seller. All right, so let's see if it's still up here. Okay, so. Okay. Find our subject property here, because I know exactly where I'm going. Okay, so we're looking at properties in Highlands Ranch. Here's our subject so that you guys can see it. Been on the market right now 22 days, listed 796, 3-bed, 3-bath, about 2,200 of upgrade. It's in good condition. We could nitpick a little bit. I don't think we need to on this. We're gonna just compare it, right? It's a 3-car garage. It's on a cul-de-sac, but it backs to a busy street, so it's kind of a wash. Okay, so just kind of high level. This is our subject property. Oh, it's really, really tiny. There we go. So this is our subject property. So the first thing I did is I said, okay, who would be looking for these homes? Well, I'm going to do absorption right around this area. So I started with the South Denver metro area. Okay. And I used that price band of 600 to 800,000 just to see what's happening in that price band in this part of the market. Okay. I went to the search, I drew a map, you know, pretty much everything Littleton to Castle Rock to Parker and Southeast Aurora, right? Because if somebody's looking in the South Metro Denver area, they might not be terribly picky, but they're probably not going to live in Thornton, right? Okay, so I just made it kind of small. And then I did the same thing for Highlands Ranch, because some people just want that city. I could do the same thing for Parker or Centennial or whatever it is. And then I got really specific and I said, okay, homes in Highlands Ranch that are going to be priced similar to this in the same price band. And so you can see average days on market. And then there's a bunch of little writing because I look at it a few different ways. So that average days on market, that is active. What's the average active days on market? And then you'll see that with the little P next to it, the ones that are pending right now, they have that many average days on market. The ones with the S next to it, that's sold. And then the ones with the 30, that's sold in the last 30 days. Right, so I looked at all 4 of those criteria for all of these, just so I have an idea of what's happening in the market, right? Especially if this is an area I'm unfamiliar with. I don't sell there a lot. I don't know what's happening. This is a really good way to be able to identify what that trend is. And then I looked at list versus sold price. We're gonna do one of these together so that you can see it, okay? So that you can see how we do it. List versus sold price, and I looked at the last 6 months sold and the last 30 days sold. Okay, so that's the 2 different price points there. 104 versus 101, 105 versus 101, 104 versus 101. There's a trend, isn't there? And then I looked at the absorption rate, right? Which is what's sold in the last 6 months, broken down to month. Right, so what's the average, and then how many are currently active? So how many months of inventory do we have? In all of these cases, we still have far less than a month of inventory. We've got less than 3 weeks of inventory in all of these different searches. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? We have a ton of inventory compared to having, you know, absorption rate 3 or 4 months ago was like 0.12. Right, with like a week of inventory, now we have 3 weeks of inventory. Woo, it's crazy. Still a really strong seller's market, you can see from the graph there. All right, and then I got a little more prescriptive around the subject property. So let's start with doing this absorption rate, because this is something that I found not a lot of us have experience with. It's a really, really simple number to be able to pull. And so let's pull this together. You can use this with all sorts of different variables to determine what's happening in the market, and it just means how many months of inventory do we have. So here we go. I'm gonna do the absorption rate for Highlands Ranch, 600 to 800,000.
Do you want to share your screen, Anna, so that,
Yeah, so that the folks
so
at home
that the
can see it.
folks on, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. There we go. Okay. Okay, perfect. So I'm looking at active properties for 600 to 800,000. I can see there's 107 of them here. Okay, if I go into the results, I can just easily look at stats. I have that one property selected, don't I? So let's not do that. Just check. There we go. Stats. There we go, and I can see not many things because I made the screen too big. Let's make it a little smaller. There we go. I can see my days in the MLS average is 26 right now for actives. Okay. So I would put 26 as my days on market, and you can see that down at the Highlands Ranch, 600 to 800 on there. So I'm gonna go back, change my criteria. I like to look at pendings because I can see what's moving in the market. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go to results. I see that 77 are pending. I can look at the stats. I can see that that they're moving, right? Those that are pending have 16 days on market, right? So tells another story, right? About pricing it right and how things are still moving quickly. All right. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my criteria, and this time I'm gonna choose my closed. So you can see there's 399 sold in the last 6 months, and that's the default. On the MLS, I'm gonna go right to my stats here. And that's where I'm gonna get my list versus closed price. I like to use the average. Okay, average 7 days on market, list versus closed 104. 0.65%. But in a moving market, that only tells us a part of the story. That's the last 6 months. Right? So then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna change this to the last 30 days. And you can see this is a lot of data, but it only takes a couple of minutes. Right? It only takes a couple of minutes to look at this and determine what's happening in the market. In the last 60 days, I've got 84 that have sold. Here's what's fun about that. If I've done the math, okay, 399 sold in the last 6 months, which is an average of 66.5 a month. But in the last 30 days, we've actually sold 84. So we're still selling a lot of homes. Activity is still pretty high, right? Yet, when I go to stats here, I can see in the last 30 days, my list versus close price has gone down pretty substantially. Right? This is because there are more listings on the market right now, right? A lot more. We took, in the MLS, they took about 30% more listings this June than last June, right? So more homes are actually coming on the market, which is really a good thing. So that's where we're at. 9 days in the MLS over the last 30 days, right? So I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna pull the stats for pendings near the subject property, for current active competition and comparables, and I'm gonna look at those pieces. And I'm gonna look and see where is that price point. If we go back to our subject property based off of the data that I pulled earlier, let's see if we can come back to it really quickly here. Just based off of these couple of things that we've seen, okay? So pendings and actives, right? 20 some odd days on market, is not uncommon right now. Right, but if we look just simply at their price per square foot above grade, based off of the comparison of their condition of the other homes, we know that they're way overpriced for the competition. So we can see that here. So where should they be? Right, price per square foot above grade, I would probably put them in the sub 300 range, right? If they needed to sell, right? We've got one active right now at 296 that just got on the market. 296 per square foot. That's really similar. That will very likely sell really quickly, and it's going to continue kind of driving those comps down. I did get all the way through the recent comparables, but you'll actually see very similar numbers. Okay, so what does this mean? Property's overpriced. Probably, that's one of the big reasons why it's sitting, but it also helps me come in with a target for where would my buyers be if I were going to offer on that property. Right? We see where comparable solds are, we see what's happening in the marketplace. So if I were cutting in on this, I might,
I mean, I was gonna say, even if you just took 300.
mhm. Well, and I like that 296 as a pretty good comp at 2209, puts us at 653. And they're listed 796.
That's way overpriced.
You think?
140,000 based off of our quick numbers, what we just did. Looking at comps alone isn't gonna show us that. If we look at comps alone, we're probably gonna get close to that 796 number. It's gonna be about 750 probably based on comps alone, okay? That's not gonna do it in this moving market, so we've gotta use different strategies. So this is kind of the worksheet of how my head works when I'm looking at those numbers. Yours is probably gonna look different, but this is a really good starting point for you to gather that data and to be able to look at those pieces. And if you have a buyer right now, right, who might be in about that 650 price range and isn't finding what they like, you might find it in the MLS in a different price range, right? Because you could show this house listed at damn near 800,000 right now on their 650 budget. You probably have a good chance of getting it if that seller is going to be reasonable. That's a whole nother question.
Yeah, I was gonna
Sure,
say.
that's where the
this seller is
negotiation
not gonna be
exercise we just did
reasonable.
is gonna come in handy. But here's your actionable from this as well, right? Do this work on a couple of subject properties, okay? But reach out to your sphere now and say, I just identified a smoking deal that's on the market in Highlands Ranch. Do you know anyone who's interested in it? As you're doing these subject properties and you find properties that are overpriced and going to sit, that's a great opportunity for you to get your sphere or your investors involved and say, you know what, I found something that I think might be a gem. Maybe it's overpriced for the market and not sure what the seller's going to do, but I'd love to get somebody into this. That's my neighbor. So I love a really great neighbor. So if you
With
have a
children,
really great
with children,
sphere,
with children.
go and sell that. And so here's the thing, I want it to sell for 800.
Yeah.
It is the runt in the neighborhood. This
Yeah.
is like the smallest floor plan in our neighborhood. And they're pricing it like it's not. So as much as I want it to sell for 796, it is not going to. And I don't want to have, that vacant rundown house next to me.
I will tell
'cause that's
you,
what happens after they
the
don't sell for
person
a
who-
while, right?
The person who has this listed did not do this kind of analysis on this property.
No.
And if you're going to do a listing, whether you lose it or get it, you really need to learn how to do this analogy on the property, because who are they gonna blame if the house doesn't sell? Raise your hand if you're the realtor.
Mhm.
And if you don't do this analysis properly, you're gonna have something that sits there with vines on it,
Yep.
and it's a problem.
And if you look at the right side of this page where we're looking at, comparable pendings, comparable actives, and then comparable solds, I would take a moment, there's 4 between pendings and actives. I would take a moment to call those agents. Just reach out. How has activity been? What did it look like before you went on the market? Did you actually have competing offers? Like, what did that look like? And then you have all the fuel you need when you reach out to the agent on the subject property.
Right.
Right? And you can go in with your eyes open for negotiations. You can have tools in your tool belt to be able to have, because you're gonna have a one-on-one negotiation. You're going to have the opportunity to meet in the middle, to do those kind of things, right? So you get to start preparing your strategy ahead of time too. So this is a great way to do. It takes a lot less time than you think it does, except for the first time you do it. Then it's like all freaking day. So have fun with it, but do it before you need to, so that when you need to, you're not like missing a soccer game because you've got to analyze property, right? So get yourself into a place where you feel really good about looking at the numbers.
What did you say that number was? 640?
Yeah, where did we land at?
I just texted Ryan and I told him, because that Hyman's Ranch property has its own 2 weeks, said, hey, they're sitting 2060s, because we're gonna do a price drop.
What do you have? What do you have?
675.
I lost it. My calculator closed and I lost my.
It was
History.
90.
That's what happened. Oh, 653.
650. Oh, okay.
653.
Yeah, all right.
Right. Sweet. We're gonna wrap up. We have a vendor who I think just needed like a bathroom break or something like that. So.
Amy,
so
we're
gonna-
ready.
Yeah, we're going to learn about Cutco here
Put down the
anytime now,
door.
which is super awesome. So I'm very glad.
And if you've
You're
never,
here, yay.
Sweet.
and if you've never
Alright.
used Cutco, I've done it. I've used them 30 years. I have a nephew who cooks for the Four Seasons Hotel.
Oh.
And he says to me when he saw what I got, that this is the best product for home use.
It is.
Okay, it really is.
Thank you. So yeah, I need to try out that restaurant. I keep hearing good things about it.
Well, not here, it's in DC.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll just go to DC.
You gotta go to DC.
Next time you're there.
Yeah, right. And it's gonna be a great day when the knife guy shows up to your meeting.
Amen.
Right?
Good day.
So my name is Alex, and my job is to make sure that you guys retain your clients your entire career and then even after your career. So we're gonna talk about how to do that today through different ways, all right? Because we know that you guys have been realtors for a while, whether you're starting out or doing this for long term. Let me ask a quick question first. What are the common closing gifts the realtors bring to the meeting?
Champagne.
Booze.
Booze, right? Alcohol, can never go wrong with it, right? What'd you say?
Oh, champagne. yeah.
Champagne,
Yeah.
yep. I see,
Gift cards, I see a lot of gift cards.
those are quick and easy, you can pick them up and go.
Yeah.
And then like gift baskets are another thing that a lot of realtors do. And those might take a little more time, but they've got more things in it, they're fun. And I'm not here to tell you guys that your clients don't love what you're giving them, because everybody loves free stuff. Am I on Zoom also?
Yeah.
Just so that I know.
Yeah, for
Cool.
sure.
And then we got a couple people there, so
Yeah, and we stream it on our Facebook, so that's where most are, yeah.
sweet, awesome. Well, hello, everybody. So yeah, your clients love what you're giving them, but let's get real about these types of gifts. Something that is a bottle of wine or a gift basket is typically consumed, right? And then a couple things that have a long shelf life, they usually end up sitting there and not really interacting with your customers. So like a clock or a frame or a plant, a puppy, I would say a puppy. So with Cutco, well, who knows what Cutco is? Obviously, I know that. you
Oh,
know
I
what it
do.
is.
Were you guys in Costco?
We
Like,
are.
or sometimes, okay, yes. I've
Yep,
seen you.
we have little booths they set up every once in a while in Costco. So does anybody own Cutco? 1, 2, probably you guys, cool. And then, all right, so I guess for those of you in the room who don't know what Cutco is, usually there's a lot more people that know what it is. Cutco is the Tiffany's and the Rolls Royces of the kitchen.
Okay,
It's 100% American made, and we're very proud of that.
nice.
It's dishwasher safe and guaranteed forever. So that means that when they go dull every 7 to 10 years, we recommend to get them sharpened by us for free. So we guarantee the free sharpenings. And that's something I'll touch on really quick, because a lot of realtors in this territory have been doing this for 17 years. That's how long the program's been around. And now their clients need their knife sharpened, right? Because every knife on the planet will eventually go dull. So I'm a certified sharpener. And what we do is we invite you and your clients to bring their knives into your client appreciation events. And then I sharpen their knives personally for free. So it's an added value touch that you guys don't even have to do anything besides send an invite to. And then we're doing all these extra touches, getting referrals for you. I've been in sales for a decade now, so I've been with this company for 10 years. And so I run the whole territory. So I'm your backbone to make sure that your clients are constantly remembering you. We actually looked up a statistic that NAR did, and they did a study a couple years back, and they said that 90% of realtors or clients would use their realtor again. So 90%. But can anybody tell me the percentage of clients that actually use their realtor again?
12.
I looked this year, it was 18%, which is actually better than
Yeah,
in
no
the past, you know, but why is that number so low?
Because nobody keeps a consistent program in touch with them.
Exactly, systems in place that are reminding, and we know that you guys are doing like handwritten thank you cards, Facebook messages, birthday videos, whatever you guys are doing. Our gifts work exceptionally well because it's in the kitchen, which is the #1 most used room in the house,
Yeah.
not the bathroom. So kind of depends on what you're cooking.
That's
in the
later.
kitchen. Yeah, that's later. So it's where everybody gathers, it's where friends and family all get together for Thanksgiving, and these gifts will naturally spark conversation when you're not around.
Yeah, sorry.
They'll be like, why does your knife have someone's info on it? Or why does your knife say thank you on it? Because we've been doing this for 17 years, and we actually believe that for your top clients that you're gonna remember, a simple thank you with your information on the other side goes a lot further than your information branded on. If you're not gonna remember 80% of your clients, you're gonna remember that top 20%, right? So for the 80% of your clients, you want your information in front of them every day. And how often do you use your knives?
Every day.
Every day, right?
I am only missing one, and I will replace that in November, September, October, November, something. But I have every single one that you probably have on your thing,
Yeah,
and the knives, everything. And I use them, and I will tell you, a side note is, even if you are a client, they will come out and do it every year for your knife sharpener.
Wow.
so who's your rep? Who do you work with?
I try desperately to think of his, is
There's
it
Michael
Daniel?
Athens, who's been doing it for a
No,
while,
no.
and then Tanya Starkle did it a long time ago.
No, is there,
Then you must have a guy on the show.
I
too.
do. I do have a guy.
Curtis.
Oh, that is, it is Curtis.
Curtis,
It is
Curtis is
Curtis.
a dear friend of mine.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
9
And
minutes
the
from
girl
him.
that he sends out to sharpen is really cool too.
Yep, Ashley
Yeah,
Galloway.
she's
I've known
very
her
good.
for like 8 or
But-
7 years now.
The knives, and I'm not gonna say after a while, but I had 3 of them that had to be replaced because I had used them so much. And that was maybe 2, 3 years ago. They just send them in and send them back.
Wow.
There's no charge.
It's like Dyson.
Pretty
It's like
much.
the Dyson of the knives.
What's Dyson? I actually don't know.
It's a vacuum
Go
cleaner.
back.
Really, I haven't.
They
heard
have
that.
a shop every time I clogged or something has to go
You
through.
just
go ahead
take
and
it over
They
there
literally
and
just
they'll
fix
take
it
care of
right
it.
there and.
Nice.
But these are great
Dyson?
knives.
Where is it?
There's one right
Oh,
across
Park
from Park
Meadows.
Meadows.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
called them
Same
there.
parking lot as like Ross and.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably wouldn't make the best closing gift, but you know, I do need a good vacuum.
Yeah.
myself.
Not at the price of like,
Yeah.
Dysons.
Yeah.
But they are wonderful. They'll come in the Sharpie. Yes, he is. He called me the other day, or somebody did, but I don't use any other kind of knives.
Yep, once you use Cutco, it's hard to use anything else,
It is.
especially our.
How much
free-
is it for a set?
So our gifts, our pizza cutter starts at $65, and then our knife sets, like these are in the 200s. But they range from $60 all the way to $300
Okay.
per
Okay.
gift, you know,
Okay.
and then we have luxury sets that go up into the thousands. I'll go ahead and pass these around just so you guys can take a look at them. They are factory sharp, so far they've only took realtors, all right? Please don't. Yeah, somebody always does.
They're gonna brand them for us?
Yeah, you would be able to close this.
And then how much does the IRS allow you guys to write off per closing gift?
25.
Yeah, it's $25 or it's 50.
I have those.
a couple, right? So one thing that you guys can take away from this, even if you don't get our gifts, is that whenever you brand your information on the gift, it becomes advertising and marketing. So now you can write it off
Nice.
100%.
Yep.
And yeah, you're not scrambling last minute trying to find something else to write off in your business, you know?
Yeah.
Because I know I'm always trying to find more things.
So how much does this cost?
Clubmates is 180 bottom line. That's the engraving, the box, the bow, shipping and everything.
How long does it take to get them?
Typically, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for your first order. Then after that, we hit the big red button and it's 2 weeks shipping out to your house. But we also do drop shipping here. You can pass these around and then I'll just grab them at the end. But these are order forms and you guys can take a look at the individual prices. Just grab one and pass it. And then on the back, there's actually an order form for you guys to order.
Oh, wow.
So
This is
I guess we gotta have a little fun with it. Does anybody have a penny on that?
penny?
A penny.
You're kidding.
Probably.
I have a Venmo account.
We'll cut right through that, man.
Penny.
I
Sure, I have a penny.
always try to remember, but I always forget.
Do not videotape this, he's gonna.
I do
release
have a
this.
penny.
Yeah, do you have a
Perfect.
bigger set too? Like, you have bigger sets.
He's, yeah,
This-
gonna chase
This
it.
this will cut the phone and the chip.
So.
Don't forget you're on Zoom.
I know, I
Right,
made
gotta
mine
get everybody
anyway.
for instance.
Yeah, no, it's
It's right over the ceiling.
Oh, it's right up here, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then let me touch on
Oh,
this
that's not the one we're
really
doing.
quick. I know I've got all your attention to this. Yes, I'm about to cut a penny, but the last thing is we have systems in place that save you a ton of time. So instead of running out, trying to find each individual gift and make it custom for each individual customer, when you really should be spending that time with your friends and family. We estimate how many gifts you need for the year, and we ship you all the gifts at once in one little box, but then we bill you over 6 months. So it's no interest, no credit checks, and the payments are automatic withdrawals. So if you do 12 closings a year, you're paying for 2 gifts over 6 months, and it's a lot easier on your cash flow. Shipping is $68 no matter how many gifts you get, whether you get 12 or 112. So, all right, our shears, we actually didn't engrave them at first because the engraving was so small, but people love it so much because it'll cut everything and anything. So chicken wings, it'll go through heads of broccoli, fat off a chicken, carpet, they're not sharp, you never have to get them sharpened. Linoleum, fabric, and I know that you guys are realtors, so you probably drink wine, right? So there's a little corkscrew to open up your wine bottle.
Wow.
Oh, no, they're great. It's great.
That's perfect.
Wow.
Now, I'm doing something really cool for you guys because I haven't been here in a while due to COVID, so it's good to see you guys again. What I'm gonna do is stick around. There is food over there. Please eat up. There's tons of food for everybody. But anybody who takes action today, I'm gonna buy you a $150 piece of Cutco for your personal home. So I just like to reward people to take action, and I want to get you guys Cutco because this stuff is amazing. I forget being with the company for 10 years, how much people really want it, you know? Which is the cool part, when you give a client something that they've been wanting for years, and they're like, oh my God, it's a piece of Cutco, you create a raving fan out of your client, they talk about it. So have a nice day. That's all I got.
Alex, that just made my day.
That was
Thank you
good.
so much. Oh, goodness.
Oh,
And
we
thank
use
you
the
so
black
much
ones for a mistake.
For coming in and visiting
Oh, no,
during,
it's just, any, this is the same
Okay.
thing, only it's a
the
different
national.
color.
Oh, okay,
Girl
okay.
So they have
Okay.
white and they have
Okay.
red.
So you got the,
Okay,
you got
red.
the small.
Yeah, I didn't
like,
take it
this
last
one
month
today,
'cause
so
I was
that's
sick.
not-
Got this
You know,
one in the fall.
I didn't make it last
and-
month to the
Okay.
team meeting.
I
No,
know.
it seemed like there was 80 people here, I'm like,
Wow.
well, I'll be there in July.
Yeah.
I get here, I'm like, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have a whole
Yeah,
set.
are you,
I have
are
a
you in the
question
market
for
yourself
you
right now, or are you?
We've got a short-term rental
So-
right now.
So-
The reason why I brought
And I
that
do not
concession
hear.
is because
Okay.
I sent my.
I just got